Malhotra. Blaze broke out at the baby care newborn hospital in East Delhi's Vivek Vihar in the late hours of 11:30 p.m. on Saturday. As many as 12 newborn babies have been killed and 11 newborn have been rescued. Officials suspect that an oxygen cylinder blast may have been the reason for this tragedy, although the reason for the fire is yet to be ascertained. In fact, to douse the fire, a total of 16 fire tenders were rushed to the location. In the latest development, Delhi police has also nabbed the owner of the identified hospital, Naveen Kichi. And according to a few more reports, a 2021 investigation revealed that the doctor had been running the hospital without any legal documentation. When the question arose, who will pay for the innocent lives lost? In fact, a number of people were tongue-tied. We'll talk about this with our guest. Joining us on the show is Padma Shri Dr. Sanjeev Bagai, chairman of Nephron Clinic. Dr. PSV Rao, consultant surgeon, Manipal Hospital, is also joining us on the program. Major General J.K. Bansal, former member of the NDMA, is with us on the program as well. Dr. Bagai, I'll begin with you. Well, you know, Dr. Bagai, India recorded in 2021 alone, this is a report that I went through, around 16 lakh fires in just 1 year. In this kind of, a development or an incident, 28,000 people had lost their lives. And it was all being blamed on, not being aware, the building layout, the right instruments, and more importantly, corruption and apathy from the government. What do you make of this incident? You know, newborn babies have lost their lives without any fault of theirs, without any reason, without even having a say in this matter, where they are born, where they are kept. And this is completely, profoundly tragic as to what has happened. You know, we need to make an example of these people who perhaps not only take the law for granted, but they take the lives of people that they are meant to serve for granted as well.
Yeah. Good evening, Vineet. Good evening, everyone on panel and all the viewers. It's extremely heart-wrenching, and my entire family joins me with utmost sympathy and prayers for the families who've lost the small babies and infants and newborns. This is unacceptable. This is completely wrong. So just let me break it up very quickly. So hospitals, when they are opening, whether be it nursing homes or daycare facilities or inpatient facilities or indeed hospitals, medical institutions, pre-commissioning, commissioning and post-commissioning require more than 120 licenses, approvals and compliances. I repeat, pre-commissioning, commissioning and post-commissioning, more than 120 approvals and licenses are required from different departments of the government. Coming to the fire safety norms, you have to get a NOC. It's an annual review of your entire premises. You need holding areas, evacuation plans, you need specific car parking, you need setback areas for safety protocols, you need your genset and diesel storage isolated, your doors have to be fireproof, your corridors have to be 3 meters wide, you have to have doors which are fireproof, so on and so forth. I think you need fire sprinklers, you need fire extinguishers, you need fire alarms, you need a fire officer. There are many protocols. Obviously, all these things have never been thought of by these people and not been implemented. If you have these kind of facilities which require inflammable items even includes things like spirit, oxygen cylinders and so on. This cannot be done in a very cramped residential area. That means your building itself was not approved for medical care for inpatient facilities and intensive care. If you see just the neighboring buildings on the videos which we saw, the boundary walls were touching, walls of the building were touching. This fire could have escalated to the neighboring buildings and caused even more death and havoc. You need not only an exemplary example, but this is a learning lesson for us. Institution point of view, obviously this will come under the government regulatory authorities, the fire safety mechanisms, things in which there have been cracks and this has fallen through. Extremely unfortunate. The owner of this hospital or this nursing home or medical facility, whatever comes under IPC, whatever section comes under IPC, strictest punishment must be meted out. But I must add, there are some newborns which have been shifted, and all the attention from the other hospitals must be on them so that we can salvage these babies, save them from severe complications, long-term injuries. Newborns can have disastrous consequences after burns and asphyxia. Even if you manage to survive these kids, even if these kids are saved, they have long-term neurological sequelae, long-term cardiac complications, liver complications, kidney complications. So we need to focus on that. But this prime example needs to be set. Name this guy, put him behind bars, put every possible implications on him which are applicable legally under law. Over to you.
Dr. Rao, how do you look at this tragedy? It's obviously worth introspecting that the system has failed not only us, more so these babies and their parents and their families at a number of levels. But the fact of the matter is, ex gratia is going to be announced. There is going to be an SIT, and this will be in fact slipped into oblivion. We still have to, come across a case where a precedent has been made of the person who's responsible, for such a tragedy.
Good evening, Vineet, the panelists, and all viewers. See, this is extremely tragic, and it is very sad that we keep having repetition of such incidents without learning and without being able to implement any precautions. All I will add to what Dr. Sanjeev Bagai has already listed of all the requirements for a hospital or any major institution is the fact that if the building is beyond a certain number of stories, then it should be possible for a big fire engine with crane, etc., to reach it with a ladder, collapsible ladder, for which that road has to be wide enough, and there shouldn't be any obstructions there. There should be a water hydrant available. These are all the additional requirements other than what the building itself has to have, which Dr. Sanjeev Bagai has listed. Okay, one. Second, he mentioned the annual review. This is also very important. I will emphasize on it because I've seen many multi-storied buildings, hospitals and others, where all kinds of trash and things for disposal are put into the steps, and especially if the requirement is that the steps should be outside the building, the ladders should be outside the building, so that when the lift shaft and others are full of smoke, you can climb down the steps which are outside the building. Now, most of these buildings don't have a staircase outside the building. Second, if there is anything, it is full of unwanted furniture, other trash. I've seen this in so many buildings, and there is no signage to tell you where that external staircase is. And these are all important things. And regulatory authorities, who he listed about 100 various permits and certificates that is required. The problem with the regulatory authorities is when you go and ask them about such tragedies, they say that they were never registered, so we don't know about their existence. I mean, the regulatory authority seems to focus only on those who have registered, but the majority never register. And if they are not registered, the regulatory authority says we are not aware of them. I mean, this is an issue that has to be really sorted out. And this is true of even the quacks who have, if you remember recently, there was someone doing surgery. He was not a qualified surgeon in Delhi. Now, if you go and ask the medical council, it will say, he was never registered with us, so how do we take action? These are issues that have to be faced and sorted out. And I agree with you that an example has to be made of such individuals who run such institutions without any clearance, and like in congested areas where there is no proper access to it by fire engines, and they don't have the proper escape facilities. These are all issues that have to be sorted out. And if there are explosives, there are special precautions to be taken with that. And many times we see that gas cylinders, not only I'm talking about hospitals, even otherwise, where various cylinders are just thrown around and no ventilation and other precautions are taken about it. So fire is something you were just before now discussing about the Rajkot incident. I think we need to get really serious about prevention of fire, and also when there is a fire, how can we
But the problem is, Dr.
very
Rao,
quickly get
anything
it?
goes. Anything goes. You know,
That is the whole problem. That is the whole problem.
You use money, you use a buck or two, and you can buy any kind of a law and tweak the system and risk the lives of so many people. In fact, that is the culprit who was the owner of this particular hospital. That's an exclusive picture that is being flashed on our screens. He's been caught from Rajasthan is what I believe at this point in time. I also suggest and urge the government, General Bansal, to make an example of him. In fact, such punishment should be meted out to people like him, that it actually, makes people shudder when they think of flouting rules and laws, which can risk the lives of innocent civilians.
Thank you, Vineet, for inviting me on your show. Actually, punishment is one part. Second part is that there is the national guidelines on fire safety, which when I was in NDMA in 2012, we formulated. So those has to be implemented. Those to be implemented by the owner as well as the civic authorities and license giving authorities. Civic authority has to see whether the building code has been followed at the time of giving occupation and completion certificate. They must ensure that all the facilities for the fire safety, that is hazard analysis, risk vulnerability, prevention mechanism has to be seen. Secondly, if there is any activity going on there, there is the licensing authorities, say Department of Health. And in this civic authority who are on the ground, they see all those things, no construction can be made without the municipal corporation's knowledge. So they have to ensure the action is to be taken on those officers who has given clearance to such building or hospital, both licensing authority as well as the building authority. And then once exemplary punishment is given to them, it will cite an example and the things will follow. Now, we should learn the lesson. In November 2011, there was a fire in AMRI hospital, Kolkata, where more than 90 people, they died, and there was no safety measure. Even it was difficult to enter in that complex. Now, in the hospital specifically, they have to make stair lift. And another thing which has to be added is the ramp, because the patient who cannot move, who cannot walk, who has to be taken on trolley, so ramp is also very, very important at the time of any such kind of eventuality. It can be applied. There has to be regular drill. They must see whether their equipment is proper or not, and specifically in the hospital, and as has been told in Vivek Vihar, there were the oxygen cylinders were getting filled over there. Oxygen is very inflammable. It is normally 21% in atmosphere. When it goes more than 24%, then the fire catches. At the same time, there are sanitizer in hospital which is inflammable. During COVID, it has been recorded world over that there were 200 cases of fire because there were so many oxygen cylinders. There were 80 cases in the Iraq itself. So these preventive measures has to be taken. And the people should learn a lesson in the sense they have a double jeopardy. They are being prosecuted because of negligence. Secondly, their business goes destroyed. It happens in Upar in 1997, when there was a Upar fire was there, case went up to Supreme Court. Normally, about 60 people were died. In 97 itself, there was a very big fire in Baripeda where more than 200 people died. So one has to learn the lesson, and once the lesson is learned, then only one has to implement. There are plenty of the rules, regulations, there is the standard operating procedures. There is no dearth of it. It is just this is just the callousness, and there is just the people don't want to follow it. They don't want to spend money on this, and they buy the authorities. Otherwise, the regular practice has to be done, and it is sad.
Right.
But prevention is better than cure.
You're absolutely right, sir.
One has to follow.
You're absolutely right, sir. And Dr. Bagai, 85% of the houses and buildings in India are not equipped to handle any kind of an exigency when it comes to fire or any other anomalies which occur, which can impact your security. 40% of the malls, the modern malls that we visit, fail to comply with instructions from the fire department as to highlighting signage which will point towards the nearest exit in case of a fire. Now, we obviously are talking about a Viksit Bharat, but it cannot be just a theory.
Vineet, I'm from the very beginning, since the beginning of my career, I've been a stickler for rules and regulations. Proper planning prevents poor performance. As soon as we deviate from the rules, we try to hijack the compliances, we try to hide the approvals, or we try to hoodwink the government. This is exactly what happens. There are norms. We have to stick to the norms. There are issues like a mock drill. There are training programs from the local fire station which take place in all hospitals, all medical institutions. There is a holding area. Holding area means in case of a fire where people can, at the first step, be controlled. Fire is controlled in 4 different ways, or dealt with 4 different ways. One is to prevent. Prevention is through rules, regulations, following the SOPs. Point number 2, after the aspect of preventing, is to control the fire. You need local fire extinguishers, you need sprinklers, you need fire alarms, smoke alarms. Point number 3 is to contain the fire. When you talk in terms of containing the fire, there has to be a width of the door. This has to be fireproof doors. That means you don't allow the fire to escalate to the remaining part of the building. And 4 is evacuation. No one talks of evacuation. There has to be proper signages of a proper font on every lobby, every corridor, of a particular color. There has to be a signage for the exit route. You have to have a ramp. You have to make sure that people don't enter the lift. There has to be a staircase of a given dimension. The railing has to be of a specific dimension which is fireproof. There are so many different issues which we need to look into. Going forward, this is a learning lesson. I think all medical institutions, and it's not difficult to track these medical institutions because there are admissions. People go out with discharge summaries. It's linked to the TPAs. It's linked to the insurance. So the government can track these people down. There is a mechanism to know where patients are being admitted. Every institution must have fire norms, and I'll extend this. Most hotels do have. I will extend it to places where fire norms are not being adhered to. Things like residential clubs, things like nightclubs, things like malls, things like shopping complexes. Look at a scenario in which a fire takes place. Sorry, let's say, for example, in Defense Colony Market or Sarojini Nagar Market or Lajpat Nagar Market, the most crowded areas, Chandni Chowk Market. It's Ram Bharose after that. Forget the fire extinguisher. People will not be able to leave the building. We have to adhere to the norms. Safety comes first. And I think this is a learning lesson. But this gentleman in question, first and foremost, must be caught and penalized under law. Of course, the financial compensation is secondary. But we need to focus on the lives which are still being fought to be saved. And more importantly, this is a learning lesson for everyone to adhere to the rules, regulations. Fire safety norms is of prime importance in life.
Absolutely. And Dr. Rao, Upar happened almost 3 decades ago. That means we haven't learned much from that tragedy.
Yes, Vineet. Unless we learn from our mistakes and others' mistakes, we will never improve. And what I was about to say when you commented that nothing is being done about it. Yes, we have enough rules, we have enough regulations. The point is, are they being implemented? No. And is exemplary punishment given to those who knowingly disregard all these rules and regulations? Again, the answer is no. The justice system there is a lot of delay, and there is a lot of money and influence used to sabotage the investigation process itself. Now, if the court is faced with no evidence, then what do they do about it? So we need to specifically target not only where the incident has occurred. I feel we have to have a system of checking
All right, sir.
every such place.
All right, Dr. Rao, we've
and find out.
completely run out of time. I would have loved to accommodate more suggestions.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.